The thing that first drew me to Kafka, it was an accident, really. I think my brother can't have been around because I was able to get into his bedroom. I was about 15, 16, something like that. And I liked to plunder his bookshelves because I was just getting into, proper novels and literature, and I didn't know where to start. And I vividly remember finding the book because I liked the name. I liked Kafka. It just sounded so other and foreign and beautiful and sort of brutalist as a name. And I picked it up and looked inside, and it was the Metamorphosis. And I think it had been a birthday present to my brother. And somebody had written on the inside, whoever given it to my brother, had written it as if from Kafka, "Dear Joe, happy birthday, you're so right. A giant 6-foot beetle is so much better than a kangaroo. Lots of love, Franz Kafka." And so that was my introduction. I went away and read Metamorphosis and hadn't come across something before that was so simple and succinct and yet so incomprehensible at the same time, where the more you wonder, the more you're pulled into it, and the more you think you understand it, the more it escapes you. And I think as a dyslexic kid who'd always sort of struggled a bit with things that appeared highbrow, this felt like it was mine to interpret how I chose. It felt like a language I could speak, and it was very, while being mysterious, there was something very, very straightforward about it, and there's something that really spoke to me and excited me about Kafka from that point. The problem with adapting Kafka is that there is something inherently anti-dramatic about the way that he works. And as a dramatist, it doesn't work to create a play in which there is similarly no drama. It doesn't wash. People don't know what they're listening to. The audience needs a rabbit to chase. They need a ball to chase. We need to know what the stakes are, what we're meant to care about. Otherwise, it's just a blur of sentences and vague jokes happening and sound effects. And in radio, you need that very keenly because you can't just enjoy the costumes. So you have to have a very clear ball to chase. When I was looking at the trial, for example, I decided, first of all, the chapters that I liked the most. I went, well, that's as good a place as any to start. I know I've only got an hour to do it in. What can I get rid of? And I thought, Frau Bürstner, the tenant opposite, is often used as the key to understanding what's going on. And in adaptations that I've seen, people use that as the prism to understand what his crime was, and things get a little bit sordid and smutty because there's lots of references to sort of sordid and smutty things throughout it. And I thought, well, what happens if we just get rid of her from the start? She's not going to be a character who appears in it, but she might be referred to if that's useful. And then in terms of, so then I started to come up with an order of scenes based purely on personal preference, and the idea that that would be one discernible thread that we can lose in order to save time. And then you've got to work out how in these scenes to do something that impersonates an event in a similar way to the way that Kafka impersonates an event. And so, for example, if you look at the chapter in which Joseph goes to the magistrate's court, and it looks like it's going to be a battle of wills between him and the magistrate, and a battle of intelligence and oratory and things like that. And instead, at this moment that you think is going to shed light on it or have a discernible progression in his trial and therefore the story, there's this huge eruption of noise and commotion at the back of the magistrate's room as the cleaning lady, the char lady, is dragged in and sort of molested by one of the members of the court or a student or something like that. I forget who it was because I went, that's too busy to have on radio. You'd have to introduce it all. You'd have to have some sort of voiceover explaining these characters are walking in. We've already used up 500 words. We're out of time. So you sort of go, okay, so how do we get from that? What's the point of that scene? I don't know what the point of the scene was. The point of the scene was he went there and these things happened, and I don't know why that matters, but it does. But I do need to get him out of this scene into another scene. So in the radio play, it became, well, I know where I've got to get him to. So basically, I just need something to happen to get him from there back into the office. And and that sort of ended up dictating how I was going to make the event of that scene into a transitioning thing where we lose the thread and play on the fact that Joseph loses the thread in that. So in this, the scene in the magistrate's court is interrupted by the ringing of a phone while there's all the laughter of the groups on the left and the right, yeah, et cetera, et cetera. There's this ringing phone that becomes persistent, annoying, throwing Kay off his stride, and then he's in the office with the phone ringing in his ear. So we're unsure of what happened. We are unsure of it. So you do something that celebrates the medium that you're working in and somehow impersonates the kind of thing that Kafka-ish does, while basically just trying to get through the story. As a dramatist, the exciting thing about adapting Kafka is that you can't do it right. There isn't going to be a wholesale agreement that this version, this adaptation really does The Man Who Disappeared justice, and it covers all the, because it can't work in any other medium really. So what you need to do is find the playfulness of your own medium and also how you personally respond to the work. And I think the beautiful thing, the gorgeous thing about adaptations is that it doesn't touch the original. The original will always exist and you have this perfect, beautiful thing and it's under glass and everyone can love it and everyone can be very possessive about it and territorial, and they should be. And they should go, I don't like that adaptation because it doesn't do this and that misses the point. And that's the fun of adapting Kafka, is that you're going to be wrong. And that's beautiful. So long as you can accept that, that's great. The thing about adapting Kafka when you're here in Oxford and you're the writer in residence and you're being put up and you're writing the biographical one, Franz and Felice, it means that there are people around like Barry Bename and Carolyn Duttlinger who you can just ask the questions to. You're pondering in a little direction, you're not sure which kind of direction you should take with this, or how, is there this moment that maybe it's something that in one of his books that you want to play on in the biopic, and a question sails through your mind about, well, actually, when did he write that, and what was going on, and what was he pulling on? What were the resonances in his own life that this is coming from? So it becomes extraordinarily liberating because I felt very held by this experience of writing here, because I felt there were bits of me that struggled to give myself permission to be as naughty as I would have liked to have been with Kafka. But when you've got people who know Kafka better than anyone else going, oh no, that sort of makes sense because of this, that, and the other, and da 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 da, you can run with it. it stops. Confidence is a real time saver. It saves all the scratching of heads and kind of trying to justify why you're doing the things that you're doing. Being here, being a writer in residence here, has transformed me in the sense that I was allowed to play and be mischievous and playful and naughty with ideas. And being given permission to do that is a really exciting thing.